Well, at the beginning of the show, I was telling you this story, a little bit of the story, what happened to me on Sunday. I had gone down to Portland for the weekend, Portland, Oregon, to go to a seminar on Saturday. And on Sunday, before I came home, I decided to drive over to Seaside Cannon Beach, which is the ocean, Pacific Ocean. And then when I was driving home from there, I was kind of taking the scenic route home just because I enjoy that more than driving on the freeway. And I had a rental car because my car, as you may remember, is in storage. And so, you're not as familiar with how things work on a rental car as you do on your own car. But I knew that I was going to have to get gas pretty soon. And I thought, okay, well, I'll get it at this one town. Well, no, I didn't see a gas station readily. And then I was back out in kind of the boondocks again. And I started getting kind of worried about, am I going to get to this next town before I run out of gas? And of course, as soon as I start thinking about that, the little light that indicates that you need to get gas comes on. And I know in my own car that typically I have about at least a gallon of gas, which in this car probably would have been maybe 35 miles that I could go. But I knew that the next town was like 42 miles away. And so I was really, really anxious. And I was driving. I came to a sign after I'd been driving for maybe 10 minutes, and I knew that it was like 45 minutes before I would get there. And it said that it was still, like 30 miles away. And I thought it should have only been like 25 miles away. And so I started getting a lot of anxiety about, oh my gosh, am I going to run out of gas? And it really was kind of out in the boondocks. There wasn't anything else. It wasn't like there was a town without a gas station. There just was no town. You're out in the forest, basically. And as I was going along and I'm thinking, okay, how far have I gone? I didn't notice what the mileage was at when it started. And how close am I? How many more miles is it? How many more minutes is it? And, oh my gosh, what if I don't get there? I had this realization that it didn't matter how many more miles it was. Either I was going to get there before I ran out of gas or I wasn't. It didn't matter how many more minutes it was till I got to that town, because either I was going to run out of gas before I got there or I wasn't. And knowing how far it was or how long it was going to be did absolutely nothing for my situation. It didn't make a bit of difference. And then the last part, which was the worrying about if I was going to run out of gas, I couldn't do anything about it. Either I was going to run out of gas or I wasn't. And, I did all the things that I needed to do. I asked for a benevolent intervention from God. I did all the things that I could do that were within my power to do to be able to get there without running out of gas. But once I had that realization that quit thinking about how many miles it is, quit thinking about how many minutes it is, because it doesn't matter. I can't do anything about it. And I'm either going to get there or I'm not. I actually was able to relax and be in the moment and enjoy this drive, because it really was a pretty and scenic drive. And the other thing I realized in that moment was that I'm going to be fine no matter what happens. Even if I did run out of gas, there were other cars on the road. I have AAA, I could figure it out. I'm resilient. I would be okay. I'm not going to die. It's not going to be a devastating experience. It might not be my preference for how things go, but I'm going to be fine. So I was able to relax. And this also made me realize once again that anxiety has nothing to do with being in the present moment. In the present moment, I was just fine. I had enough gas. The car was going. It was all good. And worrying about what might happen in the future might all be wasted time and energy, because I might get there without running out of gas and I'd spend all that time feeling anxious. And I was thinking of all the suffering I did in the meantime, which maybe I didn't even need to worry about. And once I got that, really, I did relax and enjoy the rest of the drive. Oh, and by the way, I didn't run out of gas. I got there and, I I don't know how big the gas tank was in that car because it wasn't my car. It was a rental car. But I really imagine that I still probably had another gallon of gas before I ran out of gas. So really my worrying was for nothing. So for our light bulb moment, here's what you need to do. Notice when you start to feel anxious and think about what you're trying to control. Our anxiety is another word for fear, and it's all about fear that something is going to happen in the future that we won't like. Okay. And so we're trying to control circumstances now in the present to prevent that thing from happening in the future, which we can't do. So whenever you start to feel anxious and notice that you're trying to control, first of all, ask yourself, is there anything that you can do to affect the outcome? And if the answer is yes, do it. Do that thing that will make it more likely that you'll get the outcome that you want, and quit worrying. If the answer is no, there's nothing I can do, which was my situation, then just relax, enjoy what's going on right now, and trust your resilience. Trust that no matter what happens, you will be okay, because you will.